Hi kids, welcome back to chapter 5 of the Kids Connection. I'm Pam.
And I'm Jim.
So today we're going to start with a verse that we have reviewed with you before.
Right, let's try that again. Good morning, dear earth. Good morning, dear sun. Good morning, dear trees and the flowers, every one. Good morning, dear beasts and birds in the tree. Good morning to you and good morning to me.
Should we try that again with our friends at home?
Let's do it.
And why don't you join in and say it with us?
Good morning, dear earth. Good morning, dear sun. Good morning, dear trees and the flowers, every one. Good morning, dear beasts and birds in the trees. Good morning to you and good morning to me. All right. Are we ready to try a clapping game?
Yes, let's review with them.
Okay. It went like this. England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Oh, you're right. It went like this. England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Inside, outside, donkeys' tails. Let's try it quietly to ourselves this time. How was that? Let's try it faster.
Okay. Hey, we're getting better at it.
Oh, I like that. That's fun. That's fun.
Did you try that with us at home? That was fun. Now remember last time we did a couple of new nursery rhymes, Humpty Dumpty and Sing a Song of Sixpence?
That was fun.
Yeah, let's go back and see if we can go through those again.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. That was fun. Let's try that again.
Maybe a little faster.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Now, watch this. Okay, you guys ready?
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Sing a song of sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 24 blackbirds baked in a pie. When the pie was open, the birds began to sing. Wasn't that a dainty dish to set before the king? The king was in his counting house, counting out his money. The queen was in the parlor, eating bread and honey. The maid was in the garden, hanging out the clothes. Along came a blackbird and snipped off her nose. Oh no! Now we're going to say it again, and we're going to do it a little bit faster. Are you ready? Okay. Sing a song of sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 24 blackbirds baked in a pie. When the pie was open, the birds began to sing. Wasn't that a dainty dish to set before the king? The king was in the counting house, counting out his money. The queen was in the parlor, eating bread and honey. The maid was in the garden, hanging out the clothes. Along came a blackbird and snipped off her nose. And there's actually a little tune that goes with this, so we'll do it one more time singing it, and it's going to be fun. If you can sing along or talk along with it, go ahead. Here we go. Sing a song of sixpence, a pocket full of rye, 24 blackbirds baked in a pie. When the pie was open, the birds began to sing. Wasn't that a dainty dish to set before the king? The king was in his counting house, counting out his money. The queen was in the parlor, eating bread and honey. The maid was in the garden, hanging out the clothes. Along came a blackbird and snipped off her nose. With a cling and clang in caverns cold, we gather glittering, gleaming gold. With a ding and dong in dark and deep, we search where silvery secrets sleep. With a hey and ho in 100 homes, we mine the mountain's magic stones. So for you at home, this is a little bit harder of a song to sing, but if you'd like, you can try it with me. It takes a lot of breath, so you have to take a deep breath when you get started. With a cling and clang in caverns cold, we gather glittering, gleaming gold. With a ding and dong in dark and deep, we search where silvery secrets sleep. With a hey and ho in 100 homes, we mine the mountain's magic stones.
Cling and clang in caverns cold. Wow. Gathering and counting gleaming gold.
Hey Jim, guess what just came in the mail?
Oh, it's our package.
Another package. And
Great.
Look, we have a new crayon.
Oh, cool. Purple. I love it.
And some more paper.
Excellent. Okay. So if you have yours at home, this might be a good time to go get it because we're going to do a little drawing. All right, so you have your new crayon, and we're going to draw the letter D. So just like in the gnome song, ding and dong and dark and deep. So let's give that a try. And remember, everything is made up of straight and curved, and we're going to see how that works. So here's D. Straight and curve. Let's try that one more time. I'll make it a little smaller. And actually, I'll make a small D. Looks like this. Straight and curved. Straight and curved. That's the letter D. Ding, dong, dark, deep.
Hi kids, welcome back. Do you remember in chapter 1 we met some friends and one of them was Winnie the Pooh? Well, Winnie the Pooh has a new friend, and his new friend's name is Paris the Panther. Paris the Panther, can you tell us a little bit about him? Oh, Winnie the Pooh says that Paris is extremely wise and he's very intelligent. That means he's good at thinking about things. What else? Oh, he likes to talk about ideas and he loves a good story. So, Pooh, do you think that we should tell Paris about the story we did last time in chapter 4 about Rumpelstiltskin? We can just remind him a little bit about that before we tell our new story. Okay. So Paris, last week we talked about a princess. Well, actually, she was the daughter of the miller initially. And the prince came by and the miller was bragging about how she could spin straw into gold. And since the prince loved gold so much, he took her along with him. And then he put her in a room and he demanded that she do just that, spin the straw into gold. But really, she didn't really know how to do that. Her father had just been boasting about her. And so he closed her into the room and left, and she started to cry, and along came a little man. And he said that he would help her if she gave him something. So she gave him her necklace. Then, the next day when the prince came in, he said, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Come over to this room where there's twice as much straw, and I want you to spin all of this into gold too." And then he left for the night. And she didn't know what she was going to do. She had no idea how to spin straw into gold. So the little man came back. And that time, he asked her for something else. So she gave him the ring off of her finger. And then it happened a third time on the third night. And this time it was a tremendous amount of straw. And when the little man came back, she didn't have anything left to give him. And he said, well, how about when you have your firstborn child, I'll take your child. And she thought about that and thought, well, I might never even have any children, and I have to have this done, so I guess I'll agree to it. So she did. The king, well, he was now a king, was so impressed that he married her. And she had a little baby boy, and she was very happy. And then along comes this little man. And he said, I've come to collect your child as you promised. And she started to cry. Oh no, you can't take my child. And she tried to bargain with him, and finally he said, I'll give you 3 days to guess my name, and if you guess it correctly, you can keep your child. And so the first night he came back, and she guessed a bunch of names, really strange names that she could think of, and he couldn't think of. She didn't get it right. So on the second night he came back, and again same thing happened. Nope, didn't get it right. And so she sent a servant out into the woods to see if she could find him and learn anything. And the servant went out, and she found the little man, and he was riding on a cooking spoon, and he was going around a campfire, and he was singing that his name was Rumpelstiltskin. So she rushed back and told the queen that this was his name. And so when he came back the third night, she started to guess Tom, John, Harry, and then she said, is it Rumpelstiltskin? And he got really angry, and he said, the devil told you that. And then he jumped on his cooking spoon and flew out the window and was never heard from again. So that was a pretty funny story. And we learned about counting in that story. We talked about spinning all this straw into gold, and we talked about gold, and then we counted some stones. But today, we're going to tell a different story. And the story is about someone who was very determined. And the determined starts with the letter D. This is a large D, or what's called a capital D. This is a small d. And so I'm wondering, from my friends at home, if you've ever felt so strongly about something that you became very determined, that you were going to do your very, very, very best, and you were going to do it no matter what, and nothing was going to stop you.
So here's one of our verses. You could say it's about being determined. Determined to do your best.
All right, great.
Let's do that again. There lives in me an image of all that I can be. Until I have become it, my heart is never free.
And Jim, is that going to be related to the story that we tell today?
Yeah, the character, he's very determined. He has a big heart, and he really wants to do his best.
And he also has a big talent, doesn't he?
Oh, yes. We'll find out what that is.
Okay.
Our hero's name is John Henry. People still talk about the night John Henry was born. It was dark and cloudy. Then lightning lit up the night sky. John Henry's birth was a big event. His parents showed him to everyone they met. John Henry was the most powerful-looking baby people had ever seen. He had thick arms, wide shoulders, and strong muscles. John Henry started growing when he was 1 day old. He continued growing until he was the strongest man who ever lived. John Henry grew up in a world that did not let children stay children for long. One day he was sitting on his father's knee. The boy picked up a small piece of steel and a workman's tool, a hammer. Before John Henry was 6 years old, he was carrying stones for workers building a nearby railroad. By the age of 10, he worked from early in the morning until night. Often he would stop and listen to the sound of a train far away. He told his family, I'm going to be a steel driver someday. Steel drivers helped create pathways for the railroad lines. These laborers had the job of cutting holes in rock. They did this by hitting thick steel drills or spikes. By the time John Henry was a young man, he was one of the best steel drivers in the country. He could work for hours without missing a beat. People said he worked so fast, his hammer moved like lightning. John Henry was almost 2 meters tall. He weighed more than 90 kilograms. He had a beautiful deep voice and played an instrument called a banjo. John Henry married another steel driver, a woman named Polly Ann. They had a son. John Henry went to work as a steel driver for the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, or the C&O. The company asked him to lead workers on a project to extend the railroad into the Allegheny Mountains. The workers made good progress on the project until they started working near Big Bend Mountain in West Virginia. The company's owner said the mountain was too big to build a railroad around it, so the workers were told they had to force their drills through it. This meant creating a tunnel more than 1.5 kilometers long. The project required about 1,000 laborers and lasted 3 years. Pay was low and the work was difficult. The workers had to breathe thick black smoke and dust. Hundreds of men became sick. Many died. John Henry was the strongest and fastest man involved in the project. That July was the hottest month ever in West Virginia. Many workers became tired and weak in the heat. John Henry was concerned his friends might lose their jobs. So he picked up their hammers and began doing their work. One week, he did his own work and that of several other steel drivers. He worked day and night, rarely stopping to eat. The men thanked John Henry for his help. He just smiled and said, "A man just got to do his best." The extreme heat continued for weeks. One day, a salesman came to the work area with a new drilling machine powered by steam. He said it could drill holes faster than 12 men working together. The supervisor of the workers dismissed the salesman's claims. He said, "I have the best steel driver in the country. His name is John Henry, and he can beat more than 20 men working together." The salesman disputed the statements. He said the company could have the machine without cost if John Henry was faster. The supervisor called to John Henry, "How about a race?" John Henry looked at the machine and saw images of the future. He saw machines taking the place of America's best laborers. He saw himself and his friends unemployed and standing by a road, asking for food. He saw men losing their families and their rights as human beings. John Henry told the supervisor he would never let the machine take his job. His friends all cheered. On the day of the big event, many people came to Big Bend Mountain to watch. John Henry and the salesman stood side by side. Even early in the day, the sun was burning hot. The competition began. John Henry kissed his hammer and started working. At first, the steam-powered drill worked 2 times faster than he did. Then, he started working with a hammer in each hand. He worked faster and faster. In the mountain, the heat and the dust were so thick, most men would have had trouble breathing. The crowd shouted as clouds of dust came from inside the mountain. The salesman was afraid when he heard what sounded like the mountain breaking. However, it was only the sound of John Henry at work. Polly Ann and her son cheered when the machine was pulled from the tunnel. It had broken down. Polly Ann urged John Henry to come out, but he kept working faster and faster. He dug deep into the darkness. "I beat them!" Everyone cheered. It was a victory for man over machine. "Now, bring me a drink of cold water." Even to this day, people still sing songs about the American folk hero, John Henry.
Welcome back. How did you like the story? Oh, you like the story. You like the part where he was so determined that he raced the machine to see if he could beat it. That takes a lot of determination to race a machine. What did you say, Paris? Oh, you were thinking about the fact that he was really worried about his friends and that they wouldn't have jobs if a machine came and took over their jobs. You're thinking about whether machines are a good thing or not a good thing. What do you think, Pooh? Yes, refrigerators are good. They keep your food cold. And washing machines and cars, because they drive us around and get us from place to place. So we do use a lot of machines. What did you say, Paris? Oh, Paris said that he thinks that when people have big talents, there's different ways to use them. And so that sometimes we have to make changes, and sometimes jobs change. As things change out in the world, we find new different jobs for people. Yeah, that's a really good point. So one of the things that we talked about earlier today was D, the letter D, and how that represents or is present in the word determination. Now we're going to talk about the letter P, which is the words that start with Paris and Panther.
All right, Paris the Panther, the letter P. Let's try to make another letter today. Before we made the D, now we'll try the P. And they're actually very similar. So again, it's going to be straight and curved. Let's see how this works. Straight. And now for the curve. Oh, look at that, the letter P. It's almost like a D, except it didn't go all the way down, did it? All right, now let's make a small p. Straight and curved. Hey, it doesn't look much different than the big P, does it? No. And let's look at the letter D beside it. Pretty similar, right? Pretty similar. Almost. And actually, this is interesting. Do you see something interesting between the D and the P here? The little ones? Look. If we turn that one upside down, they're pretty much the same thing, right? Or if we would flip that one, it would look like a D. Straight, curved. Let me put a dotted line to show, we could make it into a B by doing that. Oh, and then it would be a B. How cool. Yeah, exactly. Oh, and the letter small b is like this. Straight and curved. And there's a small b. Again, it's like the letter P, the small b. All right, so let's just review all the letters we've made so far in our videos. We started with A. Very simple, just straight lines. Nothing but straight lines. But then the small a, straight and curved. The letter B, which we made before, straight line and two curves. And there's the small b. C, cling and clang and caverns cold. That is nothing but one big curve. And the little c looks just like the big C except smaller. D, ding and dong, and dark and deep, which we did today, straight and curved. Straight and curved. And then also we did today the letter P, which is not after D. It's not really in order, but we wanted to talk about our friend Paris the Panther. So that starts with P, straight and curved. And again, the small p looks a lot like its big parent, the capital P. A, B, C, D, and in the future we'll learn some more letters too.
So today, we did a lot of different things. We said our verse about good morning, dear earth, good morning, dear sun. We did our clapping game about England and Ireland, and we did it silently. We did some of our nursery rhymes, Humpty Dumpty, and Sing a Song of Sixpence, and we sang our gnome song about clanking in caverns dark and deep. We also met a new friend of Pooh's, Paris the Panther. And we remembered Rumpelstiltskin. We talked about the importance of determination and doing our best. And we did our verse about there lives in me an image. And then we learned about a new character named John Henry and how strong he was and what a great job he did working as fast as a machine, which is amazing. And we learned some new letters. We learned the letter D, and we learned the letter P, and we looked at the old other letters that we did before. So there's a lot of things for you to think about this week. Next time, we're going to learn about someone else who had a big talent, but her big talent started when she was just a small girl. Can't wait to see you for Chapter 6. See you next time.